Welcome to the Investor Mel Women of Action show. My guest today is Sandra Falkins, and she has such a great story to share with you today. Her husband had an unforeseen accident, and this left them in a financial situation where they weren't even able to pay their bills. However, they decided to not make any excuses, and they decided to invest in real estate. And now they are taking an old Legend and actually turning it into a 15 or 17-plex. Follow along to hear this great inspiring story. But before we get started, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of all these great Women of Action shows. Now let's get started. Welcome, Sandra, to the Women of Action show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Yes, no, it's great seeing you in person because we talk almost every day because you're not only part of the Action family, but you're also part of the Platinum Mastermind group that individuals are in, just a small tiny group where we talk daily. So it's so great to have you here. So Sandra, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Sandra Falkins. My husband's Dean Falkins. He is more so the one that's the real estate guru in the family. I will admit I'm not that have an exceptional knowledge for real estate and the lingo, but I do believe in real estate. And I know from younger years that I had a unfortunate accident either way, and I was left with a large sum of money, and I was told, put it in investments. So I did that. 17 years ago, if I would have left that money there, that money would still be what it was 17 years ago. This is where our journey has led us to know what it can do for you and the benefits of it. It's done a lot of good things for our family. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. And you have children as well.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
Our daughter is almost 15 and our son will be 12 actually this week.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, so how did that start? So you had some money, you knew you could either leave it as is, which some people would have done, right? Savings account or TFSA, but you decided to do something a little bit different because you realized the power of real estate, or how did that look like?
Well, that's where it all kind of started. So when I first met Dean, he had his own property, own residential home, and then he also owned a triplex. So he was making some money off of real estate before I even met him. We saw this lot. A lot came available. It had a cute little house on it. It's something I always looked at as a kid when I drove by. We found out the old man, he no longer resided there. He had moved to a 3 acres, beautiful treed lot. It was like your own little northern oasis in southern Ontario, really. Nobody even really knew it was there. So I went to the bank, and of course they're like, well, no, we can't give you $130,000. So Dean comes in with me and said, well, I'll try and see if I can help you out. Meanwhile, he had just gone through a divorce, owned 2 properties, right? And they're like, oh, we'll give you $460,000. How's that even possible? I owed nobody anything. I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have my student loans were paid off. I had large sums of money in my account. Right. And they still didn't want to give me any money. So together we bought the property. Dean built us a beautiful home. Both our kids were born there. And Dean had put on a stamped concrete driveway on the front. So at the time it was kind of new and it had a really slippery finish on it. And I just got out of work. Getting a phone call from the hospital. I have to go to emergency room. Dean had fallen off of our roof, cleaning the eaves trough. The ladder slipped on that slippery concrete.
Oh my gosh.
Feet got caught and tangled into the ladder and he fell. They called the air ambulance to come down because they didn't know what kind of situation he was in, but they had no way. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was horrible. So here I am. I'm rushing to the hospital, find out he has smashed his left foot into a million pieces, broke his right ankle in 3 or 4 places, and he was going to be in a wheelchair, and he was in a wheelchair for 6 months.
Oh my, Sandra, I've known you for a while. I didn't know all this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's how real estate started to change things for us, because I would start getting calls, you didn't make your mortgage payment, this and that. We had insurance on the house, and they tell us, no, you're only covered if he's got a life-threatening illness like cancer or something like that. So we're screwed. The only option we have, I got to sell the triplex. I think we made $35,000. It just helped us get out of our hole. And then he got a job right away as soon as he could. He wasn't even walking properly, but he got a job. We decided that, maybe we should try selling this. We had heard about another property not far from us that had an indoor pool. And we thought, oh my gosh, that would be just perfect. The kids love pool, they love swimming. So we thought, okay, we'll look at this house. So we waited. A month later, we saw the real estate sign change. So we go, we look at the house. He tells us the bank wants $275,000. We're like, this is a 6,000 square foot home with an indoor pool.
Wow.
2 acres. We're like, okay, we'll offer $275,000. He sold our house. We made pretty good money. I think we sold it for about $480,000. So for buying it at $130,000, and then I don't know, I wouldn't even guess that we put in $100,000. He renovated the whole place and made it beautiful. The kids, indoor pool, they wouldn't swim in it. They would
Oh, really?
swim for about 10 minutes and then they run outside, and they wanted virtually nothing to do with that pool. Dean came up with this great idea because this house didn't have a garage, and he's a man and likes to have his garage. And at the time he was working for a construction company running a crane. He's like, I bet you, if I do the measurements, I could take the roof off of that pool and build us a 3-car garage. And he did the measurements, they got it all ready. He brought the crane home and I watched it with my own eyes. I couldn't believe that this was even happening. But he took the roof off of that pool house and moved it over and placed it on the walls and built us a 3-car garage with in-floor heat, with a walk-through mudroom to the rest of the house, and access to the downstairs basement. And kids, they loved it. They stayed in the pool for 4 hours that day.
Wow. So he just got uncomfortable, decided to do something outside of the box thinking, right? Not everybody would think, let's remove it and take it and put it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. So it really improved this house too. We put some new stone on it, did a bunch of work. Still had this money sitting in these investments. I hadn't done anything with it. And every day I looked at my paperwork when I got it every month and said, I still haven't made anything. And she'd tell me, my investment agent, oh no, you're up 11%. And I'm like, yes, but I lost 13%. So I'm still sitting in the same spot. Right. And because you put them in those investments, they're locked, right? So when they became available to me, I'm like, I think we should do something different. Dean's like, you know what? We really should look into taking that money out of there. It's not doing anything for you. And I said, you're right. We hear that the neighbor next door he's a very old man and he's selling his home. And we're like, well, how much is he asking? And it's a small little house, $59,000. And I'm like, well, so we look at it and Dean's like, I can fix this. I can make this into a nice rental house. It'll be beautiful. So we had a conversation and he counter offered us, I forget what the amount was, 45 or something. And Dean's like, what do you think? And I said, $37,000. Tell him $37,000. And he said, are you sure? And I said, I'm sure. And he told him $37,000 and we bought that little house for $37,000.
$37,000. Wow.
$37,000.
Wow.
So we put $10,000 into that house. Nice little 2-bedroom, beautiful, a huge lot. So we really didn't have much into this house. And it was paying us $800 a month. So we were getting a nice return on the house. So just a little bit of extra money, play money. And I'm thinking, even worst case scenario, if something bad was to happen again, Dean's already had enough unfortunate accidents with me.
Right.
You could sell this house and we're going to make way more than $37,000.
Right.
So that money has already made me money within 6 months. It doubled. So why would I ever consider keeping money in investments again. And so this is where we really started wanting to do a little bit more with investing. We had that big, huge house, it was too big. We were just like, maybe we should see what we can get for this house. We've done so many improvements. We put it on for $600, we sold it $590. So we made a huge profit on that house.
Amazing.
And then we purchased our next home, which is the home we currently live in.
Wow, I just love this because you went from being obviously in a situation that you couldn't control, and that's the thing, life happens to all of us, and every single woman listening and men listening to this show right now, I'm sure self-reflecting on our own difficulties or roadblocks or unforeseen circumstances, but you found a way through it, and I think your story is going to inspire so many women because of that, because you could have just said, I'm done, or I can't do this, and yet despite literally, in a sense, living paycheck to paycheck, or like you said, people calling to pay my bill, that you're the only one bringing in the money, yet you still had to find a way, and clearly it was real estate. And it sounds like you didn't even realize that you were this investor, but clearly investing in real estate, and with Dean's awesome work skills as well, being hands-on, together you were able to get yourself out of that situation.
There's got to be a way.
Right.
You just have to find it.
And from the outside person looking in, I keep seeing these little things that you're doing, and I keep thinking to myself, you have a bigger influence on this whole growth of your portfolio than you think you have, because although he's the one might be hands-on in the construction piece, when you see certain things, you don't just, okay, never mind, right? You're that little push that sometimes you might need, which I love.
Well, and the great thing I have to add too about Dean, when we look at homes, he's a certified home inspector. So when we walk into a house, he knows if the furnace is done and going to need replacing, the windows are bad, if the roof line's not straight, he can see it all. So I have total trust when we look at a home that if he goes, I can fix that, then he can fix it. I know he can. So we looked at this house, and that was the deterrent why nobody wanted to purchase this house. It was a cute little home, 3 bedrooms, nice kitchen, nice big foyer and closet and bathroom and laundry right there, basement, beautiful big huge yard again. Why is nobody buying this house? Well, the foundation, so there's water coming in. Dean's like, he's in the concrete business, I can fix that.
Perfect.
So we offered them 127 and they took the offer. So we purchased that March of 2019. We rent that out for $1,000. Now we currently up that rent, so now that house makes us $1,600 a month.
Okay, and I'm sure some listeners are going, wait a second, that's my paycheck every 2 weeks, or that's more than my paycheck every 2 weeks. That's a significant amount of money from one property.
A lot of people don't want to own a house. They want to rent a house. They don't want to be responsible if the water is leaking or the fridge needs to be replaced. They don't want to worry about that stuff.
And what's important as well to remember, I'm sure that you said you kept your eyes out for it, right? These kind of deals they're not happening for every single deal out there, right? You have to see the potential and see, okay, could I do this and this in order to increase its value or increase the rent over time?
Yes, and that's it. And it wasn't the same renter who we started with. We got a new renter in,
right.
And that's how we could put the rent up. They call me a balanced person. I'm not a huge risk taker. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Right.
So I like to balance portfolio. That's the safest bet. But it was not making any money. And now already, not even 2 years later, my money is more than double from buying that house, making money off of it every month, and then selling it. So that's where what I have to say about real estate is, how can it be wrong?
How right. And imagine if you wouldn't have once seen it and wouldn't have taken that action and decided to get a little uncomfortable, because I'm sure when you're buying these, you don't know the end result quite yet, right? And that's a big thing as well, and fear and that risk of getting uncomfortable, and should we buy it here? Does it make sense? And yet you still, obviously I'm sure you did your due diligence and your numbers and you looked at it and all those things, but you decided to not just sit back and let somebody else take it over. You realized that it was a gem and that you could make money. And now you're working as well on a big project as well.
Yes. So
Yes.
that one, what happened there? So, well, because obviously too, in 2020, it happened to a lot of people lost their jobs, and Dean was one of them. Was offered a job from his old boss that he used to work concrete for, and he's a huge man in real estate in our area, and he probably has like 300. Like he makes the seniors living condos.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he has multiple units like all over our part of Southern Ontario here. So he had made an offer to Dean in November of 2019 saying, you know, I'd like you to come and basically be my right-hand man, managing my buildings, managing like the build. So Dean thought about it because he's like, I don't know if I really want to leave this job, but he's like, but you know how much I could learn about real estate and the trades and who shows up and who doesn't show up and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, I think it's a risk I need to take. And I said, so I made him a list of pros and cons working for each employer. And he's like, this is very good, but I think I'm still going to go with this one. I said, okay, I support you 100%. Whatever you think. And if this is, because this has always been Dean's dream, quite honestly, since I met him, is to be into real estate.
Wow.
He wants to be his own boss. He doesn't want to work for somebody else. And it's taken some time, but he's finally there. So he's like, you know what? He goes, I don't want to go back and work for somebody else. I don't want to go and drive a truck. I can do all kinds of different things to make us money right now. He goes, but maybe this is my golden opportunity to really get into doing what I really want to do. And I said, well, I guess if there's any time, the time is now.
Right.
So he decided to start a corporation, and he found his first house. So, and that was word of mouth from a friend. So we drive by and it's this 2-story house. And I mean, there was all kinds of junk in it and It was old, but it had great foundation, straight roof lines. Everything was, you know, Dean's like.
And as investors, we're not afraid of the pink or green carpets or pink washrooms or brown washrooms. We go, oh, I see potential here.
And he wants $200,000. $200,000, and we're getting a house and a lot.
And wow, double up.
Right? So like now we're going, we need to get this property. He sold us the house, Dean renovated it, and that was his first flip, and that was his, and so that house, that was $200,000. He put about $110,000 into that house. He had to totally gut it, do everything. But we sold it for $465,000. And then in May, we sold the lot for $138,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that is where the Legion came in, because he was working with it's a realtor friend anyway in the area that had helped, was helping do the survey to get the property severed. And he said, you know, Rodney, Legion's coming for sale. Dean's like, Legion? And he's like, oh man, they're gonna want so much money for that. It's a 13,000 square foot building. It's 2 floors. It's the hugest Legion I've ever seen. I've been in a lot of Legions in my area, and that's the largest Legion I've ever been in my life. So he wrote this beautiful email to the municipality, the mayor, and all the Legion members, because they were the ones that were going to decide who bought the property. And we offered $200,000 with this email telling them what his plans were and about his legacy there. Wow. And he was the chosen one to be the new owner.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
When we do, what our plans are is going to be beautiful. It's going to take some time. So this is where patience is coming in. And this is kind of where we're, sold one of our rental properties, 2 of them, because we're going to need some funds to start and to, need the engineers and architects and all that sort of stuff.
Right, the big upfront investment in order to get it up to fruition. What's your timeline? Do you have a certain month, year that you're hoping that it's done? And are you doing it in stages as well? Because I know that's definitely something I would be considering as an investor. Can I get 3 units fully done, get those ones rented, and keep building from there?
And that's exactly Dean's thought. He's hoping to be able to start construction this fall, but I don't know. We'll have to see the timelines with the municipality on that. Yeah, so we're hoping to have, something by like spring. We're hoping.
Oh, good. Excellent. Now, do you involve the kids? Are the kids involved? And if so, are they enjoying it? Or if so, how are you including them in through this whole real estate journey?
They've come on Saturdays and helped work, do cleanup and all that kind of stuff, everything that they're capable of doing. And they love it. Our son, he's actually autistic, but he's like the sweetest little thing in the world. And he's always like, well, this is our building. I'm gonna manage this building one day. And with his birthday coming up, he's asked for construction gear to help Dad work. Help Dad. So we're actually getting the first Falkins property shirt made up right now with our son's name on it, and he's gonna get that for his birthday.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So yes, we try to make sure they're involved, try and get them there, and they don't mind. They like it. We always give them a couple bucks, and you did a good job today. Or...
It's interesting because with kids, they love time with us, and it doesn't really matter what it is. And of course, there's a lot of playtime and all those kind of things, and movies together, and those fun things you do as a family. But they also love learning from us, and that's something that I've seen, and they've seen the good, bad, and ugly of real estate investing, including walking in places that have been destroyed by a past tenant, or walking into one that we recently renovated and looks beautiful, and it's all freshly painted and it looks great, and it's nice for them to see all different aspects of it. And if they want to end up being in this, whether they want to be as active as Dave and I are, or just have a few properties so they can do whatever their passion is and can still have a great financial future, that they're able to do that. Any other big plans? Obviously, this is a huge project for you. Anything else that you see coming up for you that you want to work on, or are you focusing pretty much solely on this project right now?
Well, I forgot to mention, we did in June, the end of June, we bought a triplex. So that's the first, so that's a new one under our belt.
It's a nice problem to have when you forget certain purchases, right?
That one, we're working on that. We have some things we need to change with that one. That it's not, the building's not in horrible shape or anything like that, or the units aren't. It's just the rents aren't exactly where we want them right now. So we're just trying to rectify that. So we have, there's some things that need to be fixed, obviously. So, but for bigger projects right now, the biggest one is the Legion, and that one just being patience.
That's fantastic. I love your story. You're going to inspire so many people, because you've had a couple of like, oh boy, we need to shift, the accident, and then of course with the pandemic and losing the job, and as you mentioned, it was a significant amount of money here that you were receiving, and all of a sudden, like that, when you least expected, as when it hit, it affected a lot of people. That had to decide, okay, what am I going to do here? Am I going to shift? Am I just going to stay at home? How am I going to adjust? And I love that he took, and that you both took this opportunity to throw yourself back right into real estate and create your path through there. And now that you're working on this great project, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see the pictures as you progress through all of that. So that's great. That's great. So let's move on to the questions of action here that I have. We do that after every show, at the end of every show. So question number 1, what advice would you give your younger self?
So I thought about that one. That I would advise myself to not listen to what everybody else is telling me what to do with my money. If you have come into a large sum of money, or you're not sure, you have a little bit of, I would not trust these people that tell you, if you put this money here, I'll put it in all these different things for you, and it will make you $1 million by the time you're 50 years old. They're full of baloney. So I wouldn't listen to what everybody else is telling you to do with your money. sometimes you just have to take a chance, you have to take a risk, and you have to listen to people who are successful.
Yeah.
And Sandra, I think this comes in a bit of that financial education that is not taught in schools. And I think about my kids, and I try to include that as part of everything else about life, of course, that Dave and I teach them, but that financial education piece, so that way they do realize, so they don't just go to an expert or at least what they may think or presume that they're an expert and take their guidance. They can have control of their finances, and they can decide, hey, I'm gonna invest in this, or I'm gonna invest in Bitcoin, or I'm gonna invest in real estate or in stocks, or whatever they feel based on their goals and their journey and their comfortability that is best. And of course, for Dave and I, it's real estate as well. But I love that. Number 2, what's your number 1 tip you would give to someone who wants to get started in real estate?
My number 1 tip would be probably educate yourself in the business. Take courses, join groups like the Action Family, join group, learn from people who are already in that business. There's no better way to learn than from the people who are already doing it.
Right.
And an extra question, a bonus question here. What would be the 1 tip so you've been in our program for a little bit here, you're part of the Platinum as well. What's the 1 thing that you said that kind of helped you, whether it's grow your business or shift or mindset or anything like that you can share here with our listeners?
One thing I always told myself, because like when I was younger, I was very afraid to give that large sum of money. I was like, then it's gone, and now I have nothing. And then I had to think to myself, but if things go bad, you can sell it, and you're going to make your money back, and you're probably going to make money on top of it. So see how it goes, take a chance, and go from there. And that's what I told myself every time, and now I have way more confidence about, I have no issue taking the money and spending it on real estate. In the beginning, of course, you're scared, because that's what you're taught. You're taught that save your money, save it, but don't spend it.
Right.
Save it till you retire, so you can spend it. I don't know. What are you gonna do when you're retired? Hopefully you make it to retirement, right? So
right. Oh, that's fantastic.
I'd rather try and make money and retire early and be able to enjoy that money, and that would be my tip.
Even now with you guys, although of course you're still working and putting in some hours, as often we do as real estate investors, but you still have that flexibility that, hey, I'm stopping today at this time, or I'm not going in at this time. You have that flexibility, which is, to me, that is priceless, having that flexibility to do whatever I want without having to walk in an office and have somebody's rolling their eyes at you because you left for a little bit longer than predicted or whatnot.
Yeah, the only person rolling their eyes at you is your spouse.
Yeah, exactly. Or yourself, because that took too long. I want to get back to what I love. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for being here. How can people contact you, Sandra?
Best way to contact me, obviously, is usually like Messenger, Facebook, text message, my personal phone. Email works too. I have it built into my phone, so I can see it all the time.
Okay, perfect. So people can find you just on Facebook if they search for you?
Yeah, Sandra Falkins. I have no different strange names on there.
I know, we see it all sometimes, and sometimes for confidentiality purposes, and sometimes I think people are just trying to be funny as well, but that's perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, for inspiring us and showing us that whatever roadblocks you have, if you just keep pushing through, that you'll get there. So very much appreciate it, Sandra.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Mom.
Sandra, thank you so much for being on my show and sharing very openly with us your roadblocks and how you got through them as well. I love how Dean is so hands-on with your projects, but I love how you are the driving force behind it. And if you want to be inspired by other women of action, make sure to check out this next video. I'm Investor Mel, and I'll see you there.